Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations and welcome to this month's Craft Along project. We're going to be starting with an unboxing of what you can expect in your May 2024 Craft Along kit. Sorry, I ran out of breath. And we're going to be showing you what projects you can do with this. Now, this is a timeless tutorial though, so even if you're watching this in the future and if you've never even heard of our kits or anything, we will be using 26 gauge wire as well as an option for including some 16 gauge as well. And we'll have all the links to the tools and materials down below. So grab your wires and grab your pliers and let's get started. But yeah, well, I love to show y'all what you can expect in your kits for the month of May. It is not at all required to have one of our kits to craft along with us, but if you would like to get your hands on the same materials that we're using here, there is a link down in the video description. It's backtoearthcreations.com/join-our-club, and we can now show you what you can expect. Now, with these ones, yours will be wrapped up because they'll have gone through transport, but this is this month's variable, which each month we have a different design, whether it's a store-bought charm like this one here that I think is just beautiful, or next month it's actually going to be some lampwork glass beads if I can get them all put together, so that's going to be really fun. But this is our $15 kit, so you can expect to find one of our handmade glass cabochons in this style, as well as in the frit style, like this one here. These are made in our home kiln, and y'all, the lighting in here just does not do these justice. But if you have some 26 gauge wire, you'll be able to craft along with us for our first project. Whoop! It's all super durable. And then for our, well actually, I'm going to do it where it's all cute on the table. If I were the kind of person who edits my video, I totally would edit this part out, but here we are. So this is our $25 kit. You can expect to get one of these spools of wire for this month, which is the 26 gauge in titanium tone, which is really beautiful. It matches like stainless steel, aluminum, and sterling silver really well, I think. And so we have that variable again. And then here we have, check out the banding in that one, you guys. So I'm showing you each of these different kits because it should represent the different variation that you can expect in each of your kits. Or the variation you can expect between the different cabochons that we're sending out. And then we have this one here, which is another from our frit molds. And so we did the lilac opalescent on the back, which just gives this very soft, nice background to that grape purple. And then here, look at the shimmering dichro in that one, y'all. Absolutely love that. And then for our next kit up, the 35, which I highly recommend the $15 kit for if you already have spools and spools and spools of wire, and you don't necessarily need new little spools of samples each month. But if you just want to get a taste for the project, maybe brush up on some old techniques or learn some new ones in your pre-established craft room, I think that would be a really great thing to do. If you're just learning to wire wrap and build your stash, I recommend a 25 or even a 45, which we'll get to. But this way you're getting a little bit of wire, you're getting a little taste of it's at least a single project that you'll be able to pull off. But over the months, as you subscribe, you'll start to build up a full stock of wire. We have the whole thing planned out that, well, goodness. We have the whole year planned out that if you subscribe in January and you get a kit each month, by the end of the year you'll have anywhere from 12 to 24, depending on which kit size you get. You'll have anywhere from 12 to 24 different wire colors, wire gauges. Yeah, I guess that's the only different variations. So different colors and different thicknesses of wire. And I think that's a really great way of building up a wire stock. So these are, here you can see this is another one of our purple kind of tile style. It's a busy traffic day today in our neck of the woods. Two of these Frit styles, this one has that lilac background and this one has the white background, and that's the same color of grape purple on top of those. So the nice, I love the experimenting with different like color theory and just seeing how the different glasses react with each other. Now check out the banding in this one too, you guys. This is one of our puddle smash cabs. And we do have videos on how we make these on our YouTube channel, as well as on our different social media platforms that we post to. And you can find all of this information at our website, backtoearthcreations.com, if you want to see how we make these cabochons. But yeah, this is another dichro, which, oh, I just love. And so that's our 35, and with that one you can expect to get a spool of the 26 gauge as well. And now this is where we get into, if I were to recommend the $45 and the $55 kits to folks, it'd be anyone who is doing online sales, who maybe makes a lot of gifts to give away, or has like a booth where they're trying to build up their inventory, because if you do a lot of crafting, these are going to be the kits for you. So you'll be getting not just the 15 yards of the 26 gauge, but you'll also be getting 15 yards of 16 gauge. So you get two wire types. You get, again, this month's variable. And then, oh, a big boy, which again, the different sizing and patterning variations that come in each of these is, I think, a lot of fun. I really love the way the colors coming through. I never know sometimes how these cabochons are going to come out, so it's always fun to get to share that with you. And then check out the shimmer in this one, you guys. I don't know if the camera's going to do a good job of that, but it's a really lovely deep purple with the blue and black aventurine in it. Yeah, camera's not doing great picking it up, but it's there, I promise. It really comes to life in the sunshine. And then we have two of our Frit style, again in the lilac opalescent as well as the white pastel opaque. Whoop. And then one of our puddle smash cabs, so pretty. And then two of our dichro, which, look at that shimmering purple. So yeah, so many of these could be used for today's project. You could do a smaller one in the center. I personally really like the ones that fill up the whole center though, because oh, that's pretty. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's a winner chicken dinner right there. But and then you could use the 16 gauge with the remainder of the 26 gauge after the first project that we're going to take you through, to do like different wrap styles, or just wherever your inspiration takes you. And then for our $55 kit, woo, we have a whopping, you'll get 2 spools of wire again. And here we have, let me get all these flipped over so you can see. Again, with this month's variable, which last month we had sent out the stuff to make little bird nest earrings. So thank you to everybody who sent us any comments and questions and progress pictures of what you're making. Y'all are doing fantastic. Oh, look at this one. Okay, this one has a much better example of the shimmer. That is just stunning to me. Like, oh my gosh. Pieces like this one are what make me fall in love and fall back in love with making glass every time I open the kiln. Just gorgeous. Like, that would look amazing with a tree of life or with a crescent moon wrapped on it. So we have that one, and then this one here with that really nice kind of pale purple. We have, you could make earrings out of these ones because we send out a matching set, or close to matching. They're from the same batch of that style of teardrop. And then we have this one here with that nice purple gradient coming down. We have 2 of our puddle smash style which I love. I love the little banding in there. Makes it look like some sort of purple agate. And then here we have some more of those shimmering dichro on the fronts and the backs. And then this one here. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cabochons, plus the 2 spools of wire, plus the variable, plus all of our folks who get our Happy Crafter Club, like a monthly craft-along kit, that's what they're called, also get a 20% off coupon. Keep an eye out for a little business card with a QR code in there. It will also have your 20% off coupon code that you can use all month long. And then you'll also get first dibs. Anybody who's a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member as well, it gets first dibs on our shop updates. So keep an eye out on your email. On Sundays, we send out a first dibs email newsletter to let y'all know that you not only do you get 20% off in the shop, but you also get early access to shopping. So it won't be quite so picked over whenever you get right as the doors open. So through the magic of editing, I'm going to clear off my table and we're going to get started on today's project. So here we have our variable for the month, which sometimes there will be just a little bit of the plating, which you could use a T-pin or an awl or like the tip of a nail file or whatever you like, and you can kind of clean out the little gooby bits that get stuck in between there. But that way we have a nice clean design. And you take the cabochon of your choice and we can kind of use some, ooh, I like it that way. Whichever way that gets the best flash for, or just choose the best angle for your cabochon. Now I'm going to trim off around 5 feet of this 26 gauge wire. You could, if you're crafting at home with your own materials as opposed to the craft along kit, you could totally use like a 24 or even something as thick as a 22 gauge wire. Though I have used, 28 gauge as well. So any of those would work for this. I'm a big fan of the 26 gauge. And so what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and with the short tail end of our wire, I'm going to do a few wraps just kind of off to the side. You could pick anywhere on your mandala flower. So there's 1, 2. If you're having any trouble at all, with your grip, don't hesitate to use some pliers to grab the end of your wire, boop, and just pull on through. I like to, whenever I'm stacking coils of wire side by side, I like to put my thumbnail over it and just pull through. And that way it the wire uses my thumb like a slide to just go right into place. And now, so I'm going to grab, I've already got my thumb in place. So there's 4. And see how that just nestled down right next to the other one? And let's see if we can fit one more. So again, putting my thumb over, feeding that wire through, grabbing it and pulling. And we can get quite snug with that. And I'm just giving it a squish with my pliers to keep that flat. Now, it's important to me, I want my wire to be exiting, that's going to be going over the stone, close to the center design. Now I'm just going to come in here and snip that just as close as we can. Do you see how we have that snip? And then I'm going to use my pliers to kind of pinch that down and in. And then we check. No pokey bits. Very good. So now from here, I've moved my wire. I'm right-handed, so I have it off to the right side of me. And we're going to kind of just stitch around. You could totally use a bit of UV resin or gel super glue or something, just a little tack of maybe some E6000, whatever you like to hold this into place. I just hold with my fingers and thumb. And I'm going to choose to thread this through. I found the end of my wire. Don't mind the rest of the wire getting all bunched up. It'll kind of do that. We'll get the hang of it. Though it does help to have all the pliers and obstacles as much out of the way as possible. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th petal, I'm going to sew through, and I'm going to pull this down and just have it come across. We've covered this technique in other tutorials, but it's still a good one. So just coming around, and now I'm coming through the back. I'm only skipping 2, and that's okay. So long as we maintain whatever you pick, just stick with it. So finding the end of my wire, and I just went through this one, so I'm going to go to the next one. Feeding through, making sure that that wire isn't kinking on us. There's 2. Finding the end of our wire, we're going to sew back up through the back, pulling through. And I want to be careful whenever I pull tight, because sometimes it can push the stone off center. And so we just went through here, so we're going to go through the next one. And if your wire's trying to get twisted up on you, just halt your progress and get in there and kind of open that up. There we are. It is much easier to prevent a sharp bend in your wire than it is to try to fix one. So a whole lot of that just comes from mindful weaving. So be patient with yourself, be patient with the project. And if this is your first time wire wrapping, or if you're still a beginner, if you're just having a hard time with it today, that's okay. Let it be what it is and just have fun. Perfection comes later. And perfection is the enemy of done. I heard that quote recently, but it's also, prior to that, I had heard that perfection is the enemy of progress. So if we're looking to improve as wire wrappers or artisans in whatever sense, don't shoot for perfection, shoot for progress. And we're just going to continue repeating this exact motif all the way around. And as I pull tight, I do like to press it down on the back. And I think this makes a perfectly reversible design. Coming to the end of our wire, threading through. Threading back up. Whoop. Oh, it got caught around my elbow and pulled it right back out. That's okay. Threading through there. Whoop. It likes to get snagged on anything it can, but that's okay. We don't become patient by just saying, oh, I'm patient now. We have to practice it too. So, unfortunately. Coming around town. I'm going to thread back up through the back, caught on the edge of my table. And now we're crossing back over where we had started, but that doesn't mean that we're done yet. We still need to complete that design. Though we could stop here and have it look a little more crescent moonish. Artist's choice, really. Bring that around. Coming through here. It really likes to try to get twisted on that sewing back through. Just passing through. We went through that one, so we'll go through this one next. And this is our last one to pass through, because now whenever we come back around, we'll be passing through this same area again. And I think that just looks so crispy and tidy, and I just love it. Now, if I had thought ahead, I'd have started on this wire, like on this bar, as opposed to this one, because then it would have had our little wire going on either side. So if you want that to be consistent, that's how you would do that. Though I'm sure we could find a way of hopscotching our way on over there to have it be wrapped on this side, but I think it'll be all right. So now what we're gonna do is, which that reminds me, right here it got a little snagged, and so I want to make sure that everything's still nice and tight. Yeah, that's good. And what I mean by it getting snagged is the wire had nestled right here on the top instead of down by the bottom. So that'll be something for us to keep an eye out on as well. So what we're going to do from here is I'm just going to do those 5 wraps to bind off. And this concludes the project 1. We could stop right here. A jump ring or a pre-made bail, or if you had some other wire, you could make a bail. Or if you do like beading, so you could use that as a connection point. I also really like using that as a spot for like a teardrop to hang down, and then to attach chain or cord here or here. And that way it's like a necklace focal point. These also make beautiful little sun catchers if you're into that. Just hanging it in a window. Whoop, bumping the tripod. There we go. And so that's 1, 2. There's 3. I'm going to try zooming in for you so you can see what it is that I'm doing. Just coming through, pulling that wire. Pull, 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 pull through, and there's 4, so let's do 1 more. Coming up and through. And now feeding that wire towards the back and pulling it through. I do like to keep my thumb there. I don't know why. I feel like it helps me keep the wire from kinking. And so now we're going to come in and we're going to snip just like that. And then we can smush that down and smush that down. So this is the end of project 1. And so from here, our next option is going to be, we could use a good bit more of that 26 gauge wire, and we're going to cut off some 16 gauge, which today we're using antique copper, which even though it looks just like antique copper, it has that non-tarnish coating on it. And I'm going to trim off about a foot of this 16 gauge wire. And y'all, I absolutely love these wire snips. You saw how handedly they just took care of that 16 gauge, and then they also are so accurate with how they trimmed the 26 gauge that we were just using. So I am very pleased with that. And so I still had, a few feet of our 26 gauge left over. So something that we can do here is we can come through, and I'm going to experiment. But we're going to do a little bend. And I kind of want to just make a second set of petals for around our frame here. And we could have it come up a little bit. We could have some of them be different sizes. We could be very, very organic with it, or we could get a little wild. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip out my old middle school ruler. And I think we're just going to do I think 10 millimeters. So a centimeter between the bends. Let's do a few of that and see how it goes. So there we've done the bend. Nice. I think I'm going to like that. So before we get too much into this though, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of do the weaving as we go because I don't trust my measuring. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't trust it. So I have a preferred weaving angle, which is to come from above. So I'm going to just weave, oops, that's a little off to one side. I'm going to choose our bottommost petal opposite of where the bail loop is, just for symmetry's sake. And that's whether I'd be doing this, whether this is the top or bottom of the pendant. And so there's coming around. So there's one full wrap. And there's 2 full wraps. And now from here, I'm going to place our wire. And I'm going to go 1 full wrap around both. And then 1 full wrap around both to make 2. And so now from here, I'm going to come up in between and we're going to do 2 wraps. Whoop, don't want that wire kinking. So there's 1, and then coming up in between, and then 2. Around just the 1, and then I think I'm going to just continue. Whoops, bumping the tripod. I'm so sorry, y'all. So that was 2. Let's go 3. Whoop. Ooh. Almost had a kink. That's okay. When these things happen, we just get in there and open it back up. So what was that? 4. Ooh, 5 brings us to the tippy tip. And I'm keeping track of these coils that we're doing because now I'm going to do 4 down the other side. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. And now we're going to wrap 2 around 1. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of a bend here. Just to help that wire hold into where I want it to go. So there's 1. No, I'm going too soon on that, aren't I? Okay. So through there. That's right. So I guess it was a total of 6 because we had done the 2 and then I did 4 more. So there's 1 and then 2. Excellent. Now we will come in and I kind of feel like I want to do that bend. Oop. And I made it too short, and that's okay. Measuring would have been wise, but that doesn't always happen. So we'll just straighten it back out, move down just a smidge, and bend our wire. There we go. And now we can wrap 1. Whoop, make sure we're actually going around our wire. So this one can be a little more tricky, but that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to challenge ourselves because sometimes we don't know what we can accomplish till we try. And even if it comes out lumpy and weird, that's okay. That's kind of the point of all of this, is to just see what we can do. And then that's 2 around the 1, so now I'm going to go 1 and 2 around on that side. And so now we have achieved more or less symmetry, and that's how our little sunshine frame is looking. So now I'm going to come around the back side and I'm going to come up and through. So this kind of changes the direction that I'm weaving in a little, but that's okay. So we're going to go 1 and 2, pulling through. I flipped it over so that you can see. And from here, I don't mind a bit figure 8ing it. And what I mean by that is I'm just sneaking across the back just to get it rewrited into the overhand stitch that I do prefer, where I'm sewing from where I can see through. I do hope that that makes sense. I'm just threading through. There's 1, 2, and then 1 and 2. I kind of want to try something. You know, let's do it. Why not? Because we could repeat that same exact way all the way around, or we can get wild with it. So there's 1, 2 around both. Again. And then 1 and 2. There's 3 and 4. Making sure when we sew through that we're just going through that loop. We don't want to catch any of the other wires. And so now from here, I'm just going to line this up and do our bend. And at first, our pliers are going to be in the way. Oh, that looks nice. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. So I'm going to do another 4 down the other side. 1. Now I've kind of purposefully started ourselves off with a shorter piece of wire than what I knew we would need because, oh, what's up, baby? I gotta go check on my dog. But I'm using shorter wire than what I had originally thought we would need because I want to show y'all how to splice this in for if your wire breaks or if you run out of wire. Running out of wire is preferable, I think, to wire breaking because you can kind of plan, okay, I'm going to be running out of wire soon, so you can like kind of like do a check-in. Like I would probably do the splice at the tip because there's a pretty natural break in the wire there, and then we've got 4 wraps that will like ground the wire down. You'll see when we get there. Whereas whenever the wire breaks, oftentimes I will just backtrack to, like I'll undo my stitches for want of a better term, to get to where it makes sense. Like if my wire broke right here, I would just take out those 5 coils and then start fresh. Okay, so I'm just taking my pliers and you can kind of see where I'm lining the jaw up, and I'm making sure I've got a good bit of that wire in the jaw of my pliers, and then I'm just bending up. And that came out a little shorter than I would have wanted, but I think it'll be all right. So there's 1 and 2 around both. Getting my wire in between right there so we can go 1 and 2 stitches around just the mandala frame. And then 1 and 2. And then we're going to go 1. And you can see it's already breaking my nail a bit. Wire wrapping is not healthy for our fingernails, y'all. But there is like a thimble that we can get. I'll have that linked down below. That's pretty handy, but I'm still just prone to abusing my own fingernails. Okay, so now we're going to come around the back side. Again, just like how we did before, so that our wire travels across the back of the frame. See like how it did there? Because a lot of the times when we're making creative decisions like that, there's no right or wrong. My only aim is to be consistent. Whatever I decide, I want to try to keep doing that. Because if you repeat the motif in your work, then it's going to look on purpose. And so again, from here, I'm just going to, even though I was stitching from the other direction, I'm going to kind of backtrack it again. So there's 1 and 2. Does anybody have tips on how to do super crispy, clean bends on 16 gauge wire like this? Because I feel like mine are a little muddy. They're muddy for what I would like. I imagine that measuring would help. Ugh, but that's so much like measuring. A Sharpie would be handy. I've got a purple Sharpie right here. Maybe we can try that. Ooh, and then also if stuff's looking a little messy, just give it a squish with your flat nose or nylon jaw pliers. Oh yeah. And that can really make things look pretty tight. Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, And now we do have some options here. We could splay this one out a little wider and have it to where it's a little bit like a compass rose. I think I'm going to try that. So I'm going to come out to right here. Whoop. I want to be careful that I don't scrape my wire. And I'm going to give it a really nice sharp bend. You know, and I thought it was a really nice sharp bend, but it really just looks kind of muddy. So coming in here on the other side though, we can take that and flattening that side out. Oh, now that helps it to look much sharper, I think. And so now from here, we're just going to continue, and this is where I would recommend splicing in some fresh wire, because we are going to finish off with 4 more. 2, is it 4 or 6, or I think it's 6 more. I don't know. We're going to keep going till it's full. Four. 5 and 6. Yeah, we can fit 2 more coils in there. 7. The wire's getting short enough that I do like to use my pliers, so just to make it easier on my hands. And let's go 8. I'm going to kind of smush that down that away. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to trim the little bit of tail off of there and go smush that away. Whoop. Then we're going to go like nom nom with our pliers. That's pretty neat. And now we're going to repeat that same thing on the other side. If you're watching this and you don't feel like seeing all of that, you can totally skip ahead. But I am going to keep this going because you never know when something interesting might happen that might be helpful. So I'm just sewing around. Wait. No. Yes. No. Maybe. How in the heck? Okay. So the way that I was weaving here, it didn't really go like mirror imaged the way that I would hope. So I'm actually going to undo it. So if we find ourselves needing to undo some stitches, this is how I do it. I just press a little bit of the wire through and then I pull it. So we're going to press a little bit of the wire through and then we're going to pull it, press. We'll want to be careful because this is right where our wire is going to want to like give out on us. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go for 5. And then 6. Now let's keep in mind though, I'm looking at the back side. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to bring it to where it looks complete on the front. And then we're going to wrap, do that figure 8ing so that we can go 1, and 2 around both. Watching out for kinking. And then we're going to go 1 and 2. And that's going to bring that through around like that to where now we can get all sneaky and bring it across the back. And go like 1 around just the frame. Whoop, don't want that kink to go. And there's 2 little coils or stitches, or however you want to think of it. And then we're going to feed through. There's 1, whoop, bumping the tripod. And 2. Let's bend that wire down. There we go. And then we're going to feed up from behind. It snagged my pliers. So there's, oh goodness. And 2. And 1. And 2. Just kind of squishing that on down. Squish, squish. And now from here, I'm just going to flip this over just so I prefer to bend away from me. I feel like I have a stronger control. And now from here, we can just sew through, up from behind. So this is going to be either 4 or 6, I think just 4 coils. So there's 1, and sewing up and through. There's 2, do a little squish squish, there we go. There's 3, and threading up and through for 4. And now I'm just gonna start sewing on the other side. So there's 1. That's how that's looking so far. There's 2. Now you could do all sorts of different flower style frames with this. You could add additional layers. So if you wanted to do however wild you wanted to get with your weaving, you totally could. So multiple core wires, all sorts of stuff. Just giving it a nice little squish to keep it flat, and I think it just makes it so pretty. So there's those 4, and so now I'm just sewing through. And now this is going to be wrapping around both, but I do want to be bending this wire. I'm gonna kind of try to get it, and the more we practice, the more we'll be able to gauge where the bend is going to end up happening, like where we want the bend to happen, whether or not it actually happens there. And then I like to get in, yeah, I do prefer to do the bend before doing any of the double coil, because it lets me get my pliers in there to flatten that wire back out. So there is 1, and there is 2, and then we can wrap. Let's pull up on that wire just to give ourselves a little bit of space. There's 1. And 2. If your fingernail just isn't cutting it for you, turn to your pliers. They're super handy. Now also I'm going to show y'all a little trick for on the fronts of these, so if you don't want to worry about your stone popping out, because I've been kind of handling this a little roughly and it's kind of pressed some of our wires down. If you find that happening a lot on yours, you may want to, how we did 3 spaces, you may want to do 4, and then you can kind of push back a little bit, or using a thicker wire can help alleviate that problem altogether, because it takes so much more pressure to force it wide to pop the stone out. So there's the 2 around both, and then 1, 2 around just the frame. And I keep finding myself in this predicament. Well, I guess I never did the reverse. Oh, we got some crunchy looking wire there. That's okay. So there's 1. So what we're going to do here to get that reverse is I did the 2, and then I'm just going to, this is where I'm going to sneak in that figure 8 where I change direction. And then I'm going to pull through. That wire is going to be quite stiff right there where it's a little chewed up. That's all right. We can, the more we learn about wire, the more we can anticipate its potential behaviors and potential misbehaviors and try to work around them. So now we can just come straight across. And then there's 1. And 2. Pressing down on that. And then I'm going to feed up and through. And we're going to go 1. And 2 around both, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ooh, it looks like something got a little bumpy there. So I'm gonna kind of, there we go. One of my coils got nestled on top of the other one. So let's put that wire back in. And I bet I can fit 1 more. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Now I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to trim that. And then we are going to give it the little smush and then a little squish. So now we can do the bend on this one, on this petal point. Just coming in, bending that, or squishing it really. And it came out a little longer than on the other side, but that's all right. You can take that and kind of just press it in. Very nice. So now from here, you can see I have squished back our bezel, and my cab without much prompting can just pop right out. So what we can do here is we could take a knitting needle or the end of like if you have a chopstick and a pencil sharpener. Just something that's not going to scratch your stone. Which, if you're using one of our glass cabochons, you shouldn't really need to worry about it. But if you're using like a turquoise or a malachite or a jasper, you'll want to be careful, I think. And so here, I'm just kind of catching each one wire and pressing it forward. There we go. Some of the wires come forward easier than others. Some of them are just fussy. That's okay. And you can always kind of primp it forward just a little bit more. And I just love the way that that looks. Oh my goodness, yes. So that's how you can tighten back down from there. And so now we have some options if you wanted to bring this out into like a lotus design, or if you just wanted to bring it up into more wrapping. I kind of really love the look of just the straight lines. Makes me want to tidy this up just a little more. There we go, to get it nice and geometric, if at all possible. Though you could continue the flower motif all the way around, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a little bit more, like let's say, that's my wire spool, I promise. About 1.5 feet, maybe 20 inches of wire. And I kind of want to come through the center point here. And we have some, we always have some choices creatively that we can take. Oh, that's how I want to do this. Okay, so I have the center point of our wire. I'm going to hook around right there. And then I'm going to sew up and through. There's one. Whoop, and there goes my knitting needle. And 2. You know, it's actually occurred to me, I don't want to be doing this in the very dead center of my wire, because that's not the style of bail we're going to be doing. So ignore me. Here, let's see. How do I, this is kind of tricky. How do I get this wire? There we go. Sometimes just providing a little of counter pressure. There we go. And then we can run that out with our fingers. So I only want like 3 or 4 inches on one of the sides, and the remainder of our wire will be on the other. And I'll show you what's up with that here in a sec. So let's start with our shorter end. We're just going to sew through. And that's short enough that it certainly is easier to use my pliers than my hand. And we're going to be navigating around the other wires. So I'd like to do at least 2 coils. So there's 1, 2, and then we're going to come back through and I'm going to pull this down to me. Could have spared myself a little bit more wire, but I'm being stingy. Or frugal. There's a difference, I think. So there's 1, 2, and we'll want to make sure that that wire is not crossing back over itself like how it is. And if that happens, then we'll just kind of push up on it and then kind of squish it. There we go. And then I'm going to wrap this tail tag of wire. 1, 2. So we got 2 coils out of it. That's okay. I'm just going to squish that kind of down and in. Smush 2. And now on the other side, we're going to sew 1, 2, and then we'll bring this down, because I actually want to come in here and right above, about there, I think I'm going to give it a sharp bend. Perfect. So now we're going to sew up through that loop again, but around our frame wire now also. So there's once around both and twice around both. And then we're going to go to just coiling 1, 2, and 3. And I want to get my pliers in there. Whoop. And just do a nice sharp little bend. As sharp as we can. And I want these 2 wires to pretend like they're friends with each other and be parallel. Just as much as we can get that to happen. And then I'm going to go 1, 2. And then 1, 2. So that's a figure 8. And then 1, 2. Wrap, wrap. And then 1, 2, wrap, and then coming around the other side into a figure 8. So it's making that kind of staggered pattern. Now I'm going to slow that down for you. Because again, whatever you decide to do, so long as it's consistent, then it's correct. So wrapping once and twice around both, and then I'm going to wrap through the middle and figure 8 it from the other way. And I do find this is much easier if I give myself just a little bit of space. It doesn't have to be death grip tight. So there's 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2. And then we can come in here with our pliers, holding on to the core wires tight enough that they'll catch the edge, but loose enough that we can slide them and we can compress that down. And I just love the way that that looks, y'all, like 100%. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Don't be too tight on those 2 around both, because otherwise, and this is advice that I need, so take it and leave it if you need it, or if you don't. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We definitely could have given ourselves at least 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet of wire to give ourselves a little bit longer of a bail. So depending on the size of bail that you would like, you'll just either do more or less of your coiling wire. Though actually, I can show you how we'd do a splice in on this one. Because that's right, I had meant to show you. So all we would have done is we would have coiled the 4 around just this one and trimmed off the little tail bit and then continued on the pattern, or actually it'd have been 6. So we'd have coiled in and then 6 around just the frame, 2 around both, 2 around just the frame, do the passover, and kind of build up around that way. So for this one, I'm going to go 1, 2, and then this wire, I'm going to bring it through and I'm going to pinch it down, but we're not going to cut it just yet. Let's give ourselves at least that same amount of wire. Again, I'd always rather have a little bit of scrap left over than be in predicaments like this. So I'm going to tuck our tail wire down and I'm going to wrap around the 1, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, wrap, wrap, 1, 2, wrap, wrap, 1, 2, wrap, wrap. So I've just hidden those 2 wires poking through in that one spot. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to snip. And I always try to make that happen on whatever side is going to be the inside of our bail. So I'm actually going to take this, now that we've done that and I need to make the decision, I'm going to decide which side of the bail is going to be the front, and it's going to be this one. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just bend forward at that little bit of like a 45-degree angle maybe. That is not a precise measurement, it's just a guesstimation. 1, 2, boop, and boop. 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 1, 2, that's probably plenty. Then boop, boop, and then I'm just going to finish 5 coils on one side. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to snip that so that it's resting in the middle. There we are. And what I mean by that is I want the wire end to be where it's sandwiched between other wires. And I am going to splay these into a little bit of a V though. And we could use the same knitting needle as before. Or here I'm going to be using my stepped mandrel pliers or stepped bail making pliers, whatever you call them. They are great for this. Whoop. And you can see, uh-oh, I accidentally split it by gripping it in my pliers too hard. That's okay. We can get in there and we can kind of squish it. Squish. Yep. With our fingernails and try to make it look like that had never happened. Also taking it and just going like that can sometimes help or make things worse. Sometimes you don't know till you've tried. It may have been a better idea to trim those wires after shaping the bail. But here we are with that hindsight. And so for on these sides, I'm going to take the remaining wire and I'm just going to shape it around like so. And this is just one of many ways that you could finish a bail, and I challenge y'all to add your own twist to this. I fully endorse following our tutorials exactly and still selling any of the work that you make 100%. You bought the materials, it was your hands that were sore at the end of the project, this is yours now. But I do challenge y'all, just because I want to see what you come up with, to take a different route to the end and see what you come up with. And then tag us with hashtag craft along with Vaughn so that not just Randy and I, but the whole community can see what it is that you've been crafting. And so I've snipped kind of in center line with the pendant. I'm actually going to snip a little higher up. I put my thumb over it not to hide the view from you, but to keep it from doing that, where it pings off into the unknown ends of the universe. So yeah, there we go. I like to just tighten it in just a smidge and tuck that little end into the bail. And you can use whatever tools are necessary to get that to happen, because sometimes it happens easy and sometimes it does not. And there we are. There is our pendant. And I think that is just so stinking cool. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me during this video. I do hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. Be sure to check out all of our links and all that good stuff down in the video description. If you are interested in one of our craft along kits, that'd be the place to find them. And yeah, I think other than that, like, thank you guys so much, like, for all of your kindness and your support that you've shown the business. If you're a regular viewer for over the years, thank you. If you're a first-time viewer, hello and welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. I live to be helpful to y'all, and I will see y'all next time. So, we have a calendar of our events on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. That way, if you want to catch us again, we do new tutorials every Sunday, new shop update tours every Monday with a cool giveaway, live streams every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then it starts all over again. So be sure to check our calendar though, because sometimes we mix it up and go to like different vending events and who knows what else. So who knows what the future holds, but we're going to keep it crafty and I will see y'all there. So until then, you guys, happy crafting. Mwah. Bye.